Another live stream here on Live Coding with Matt Groves, twitch.tv/Matthew D. Groves. This is episode 40, the big 40, and we are going to look at some Kubernetes today. I've already done a little bit of this, and I'm kind of stuck right now, so we might just review what I've done with Kubernetes and AKS, and I've actually learned some things. I found an Azure AKS CLI bug. I think I found a bug, so we'll see how that goes. And after that, we'll go back to doing some bot enhancements today. I think just kind of take it easy a little bit today. Last stream was a lot of fails, so let's have some fun today. Plus, I'm not feeling super great. I don't know if you can tell, but my voice is I don't know, a little damaged, starting to go. We'll see. My wife had a cold last week. So I suspect the same thing's happening to me, but we're going to try to take it a little easy. I've got a nice big hot cup of coffee here. I'm sure that'll help things out. This is creme brulee coffee, by the way. My wife has bought this for me several times. My wife, Allie, has bought some creme brulee coffee. She doesn't like coffee, but she likes the smell of it, so creme brulee coffee is tremendous. I used to also not like coffee, but for whatever reason this year, maybe it's a midlife crisis I'm experiencing. Maybe this is how it manifests in me, but I've started drinking a lot more coffee and a lot less sodas. Now, I had switched this year to a lot more like diet sodas, like Coke Zero. But now I'm straight up, like, I'll have a soda every once in a while. But it's mostly coffee for me. Anyway, this is not caffeine chat with Matt Groves. This is live coding with Matt Groves. So let's get on with it. This is, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can leave comments and stuff, but this is kind of meant to be a live show, right? And part of being a live show is we're going to have live interaction with the chat room all the time. And so therefore, I want to make this clear up front. The only stupid question is the one you do not ask. In fact, maybe we should put that in like the little chat rules. When you first log into the chat, shows a little pop-up there on Twitch. Maybe we'll do that. But I want to make this, I want to stress this. I always stress this every time because sometimes if you're new to programming or you're new to a community, new to a group in general, you're afraid maybe to, and I've been here. I'm still here a lot. You're afraid to ask questions because you don't want to look stupid. And I think maybe there's some people out there who love to take those sorts of things and use them to prove how smart they are. I like to do the opposite. I like to take those questions and try to help as much as possible. And oftentimes I learn when people ask me questions, and I'm like, you know what? I don't know. Let's research that. Or, I know part of the answer, but what do you think? Let's get a discussion going. So the only stupid question is one you don't ask. Just keep that in mind. I am part of the Team Live Coders on Twitch here. Let's bring them up in a browser. Twitch.tv/Live Coders. If you're looking for other Live Coder streams, you can go here. Check this page out. It's twitch.tv/Live Coders. It's Gamlor. Hello. How are you, Gamlor? Good to see you. Thank you for signing up for the C# Advent. I appreciate that. If you are into live coding, if you want to do it or you like to watch it, this is a great place to go. Check out Team Live Coders. You can learn more about applying to be a live coder here, and you can find the whole list of live coders here. Right now it's myself, Pixelogic Dev, and I am Fletcher. Later on in the stream, we'll come back here and see if there's someone we can raid. I like to do a little bit of raid the team members if possible. If no one's available, we can find someone else who's doing live coding and raid them instead. Okay, so that's Team Live Coders. I'm also, and you can also get that by typing bang team Live Coders. No, just bang Live Coders as a command there. And is it Live Coder? Gosh, I don't even remember now. Maybe it's not the right command. Hopefully I didn't just break the bot. Oh, I think I did just break the bot by typing that command for some reason. No, it was. Gosh, it was Gamlor's arrival that broke the bot. So I'm not trying to blame you, Gamlor. It's my bug, but maybe we'll work on that today. So the bot is crashed. It's my fault for I'm missing a unit test apparently. Anyway, these usually you can get them by typing those commands in the chat room, but I'll just paste them here. It's github/bnb/awesome developer streams. This is a big text file. of streamers, and it has been updated 16 hours ago. So we're going to do a quick search here. But you can go to this page, do a Control F, and you get a list of people who are streaming, what they're streaming, what their name is, where they're streaming. So it's not just Twitch, it's Facebook and Periscope and Mixer and wherever else. You can go here and check it out. Since this list is updated, I like to go and do a search for the term data, because that's what I do a lot of on this stream. I do a lot of databases and back-end and data-driven stuff. The bot that I'm working on is trying to be as data-driven as possible. So that's what I like to look for other streamers who are doing that sort of thing and give them a follow and check out their streams specifically, because there's a lot of streamers out there doing great stuff, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot doing stuff with data. At least that's not their core focus. Almost everybody uses a database in some way, right? So let's take a quick search here, see if we can find the usual suspects. So there's Liz Phillips, and there's Matt Groves, that's myself. So a lot of databases, Couchbase, of course, which involves SQL, SQL++, NoSQL. And I do a lot of backend coding in .NET, C# and the like. Rachel Tapman, yep. Shirley Wu, I think we're following Shirley Wu. Ted Young, yep. Spring Data. Go Maestro Go. Jack Mott, yep. Liz Phillips. So it doesn't look like there's anybody new in the list. I don't think Shirley Wu is new. We can go and just check it out. Maybe make sure I'm following. I'm not following. Okay, maybe Shirley Wu is new. New Shirley Wu, doing data visualization, JavaScript and React. Data isn't that sexy to watch, I guess, at least compared to game dev. At least on Twitch, most programming seems game dev. Well, that makes sense. That's a natural fit, right? Twitch is kind of, mainly a gaming platform. Hey, it's Encoding from Chile again. What's going on, Encoding? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, I think you're right, Gamler, and I've brought this up with other discussions, is that, well, I'm really into databases and backend, but it seems like Twitch is very visually driven, obviously, gaming driven, graphically driven, and so the challenge for me then is, well, how do we do stuff with data that's interesting on a stream? And I think we've done some of that, and I'm open to other things. But it's also, I got to be true to myself. It's where hey, I got the sparkly shirt effect going again. Carrie commented on that last time. It's this green screen lighting. I need to put some blackout shades up there or something. Anywho, that's just who I am. I got to be true to myself. I got to do data. I got to do backend. I got to do C# and stuff like that. And if I ever, switch back and sway back towards the front end, I've never really been a massively, involved in the front-end dev. My last job, I did a fair amount of JavaScript and front-end stuff, jQuery and the like, but it was mostly back-end data, creating REST APIs, things like that. And that's what I've done most of my career. Whenever it was front-end stuff, it was always, HTML rendered to the server side. That was how I got my beginning, way back in the day. So I do like gaming. I like doing game stuff, and if I could figure out a way to bring databases and gaming together, I totally would. And I will say that, speaking as a Couchbase employee now, a lot of our customers are in gaming and mobile gaming spaces. But it's mostly just, bookkeeping and data sync and things like that, which it's not the really flashy graphics on the screen. It's the important stuff behind the scenes that makes it work. Anyway, enough about that. So, where was I? Awesome Developer Streaming, so check that out. If you want to look at my back catalog, this, like I said, this is meant to be experienced live, but every once in a while, it's if you missed an episode, you want to go back and watch and catch up, and maybe I covered something and I'll refer you to an older episode. You can go find those at bit.ly/GrovesTube. But if you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment. I would happy to discuss any sort of questions or comments you have in YouTube. Gamler says, yeah, your MMO looter shooter achievements need to be stored at the end of the day. Yeah, absolutely. So, and not only that, if you're doing like a multiplayer, say a game like, I don't know, Words with Friends or, Scriblio and things like that, those are data driven. The communication between you and the other players is most likely data driven. So the syncing that happens between a mobile app and the internet. And if it's a words with friends sort of thing, you might want to have some offline capabilities. So how do you deal with syncing data after you've been offline for a period of time? Can you still play your game on an airplane, right? So and still have internet capabilities. So I have a couple of games on my phone. One of them is called Wordscapes. It's kind of like a word hunt crossword sort of thing. I can play it offline, but when I connect online, I can get things like extra coins and things like that. There's another game I like a lot called Dr. Mario World, which is kind of what it sounds like. It's Dr. Mario, but it's sort of the Candy Crush style game. I cannot play that on an airplane because you need online to play it. It won't let you play if you're not connected online, which I find annoying because I would play a lot of Dr. Mario on the airplane if I could. So that's partly a business decision, partly a technical decision, but those kind of things interest me. I like graphics and sound effects and fun things like that, but it's really not my area of expertise. All right, so you can check out old videos there, Groves too. Also, I'll post highlight clips every once in a while, and those will be on YouTube as well. Everything's on Twitch, but it's stored for like a 30-day period, something like that. So I like to back everything up to YouTube as well. TwitchBot is on, but it is broken, so maybe that'll be the first order of business is to get that thing working. C# Advent. So I mentioned this when Gamlor came in the room. Gamlor is signed up for the C# Advent, and you should be too if you know anything about C# and you're interested in writing, giving back to the community, promoting C# in any sort of way. You should sign up for this as well. There's only 5 slots left. You can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total blank spots. I will take the last one, so there's really only 5 slots left. You have plenty of time to write it. It's early November right now, and your post doesn't need to be, if you're not yet signed up, it doesn't need to be ready until December 17th. So you got plenty of time. Sign up there. It doesn't have to be super complicated. It doesn't have to be breaking new ground. It can just be, if you've never done C# before, here's my experience with learning C# for the first time, writing my first C# program. That's fine. You don't have to have your own blog site either. You can use Dev2, HackerNoon. You can make a video on YouTube. Whatever you want to do, as long as it's C# related, and you link back to this sort of C# Advent hub page, because that's sort of the whole point, is that we're all lifting each other up, this whole C# community. We're all doing cool stuff with C# and promoting each other in the process. So sign up for that, crosscuttingconcerns.com, or Calvin Allen was nice enough to supply this shorter URL, csadvent.christmas, which I rather like. So sign up for that. And thank you very much, Gamlor, for doing that. I appreciate it. Looking forward to your blog post. And I suspect, I'm not going to put pressure on you to do this, Gamlor, but your cute little stick figure drawings, those could be fun for a blog post. But no pressure. If you don't, I know that's extra work. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. But I remember clearly all those posts you had about DB40 had little stick figure drawings that were kind of fun. Okay, so I was going to talk about Kubernetes and AKS, and maybe we'll just do a quick review because I am kind of stuck on this. And if anyone in the chat has an experience with AKS or Kubernetes, maybe you can help me with this. But what I'm trying to do is I am trying to deploy my Twitch chatbot to an AKS cluster. Instead of running it locally like I am right now, I'd rather run it on Kubernetes in Azure so that it's always running and I don't have to worry about making sure to start it here locally or making sure I back up my database locally and things like that. It's all out there on Azure. That's all happening, running out there, and doesn't interfere with what I'm doing on my local machine. So what I've done is, actually, let me go and bring up, let's see, I'm going to bring up GitHub/Dennis Rosa microservices on Kubernetes. I just got a tweet from Bill. Yeah, I'm up against Scott Hanselman today on Ignite keynote. That's fine. No big deal. I don't expect to ever win against Scott Hanselman, but I can't change my schedule just because someone else is doing something awesome at the same time, because then I would never go. Okay, so anyway, Dennis Rosa. Let's see, encoding. Right now I'm not able to help you, but I'll get back to you after work to check out if I can help you. Okay, that's cool. So you've been doing some Kubernetes before encoding? You have your own K8 server at home? Okay, that's cool. I basically, I think I'm doing I think I'm doing things right. I think it might be a problem with how I'm managing secrets. I'm not sure yet. Anyway, Dennis Rosa, he's kind of on my team. He's kind of the Kubernetes expert, and so I went to him, and he created this demo actually for the Cube. What is it? KubeCon event in Barcelona earlier this year, and we're going to use the same demo. I'm going to use the same demo at KubeCon in San Diego in just a couple weeks from now. Which, by the way, Thursday, 2 days from now, will be my last stream for a while. I'll have 2 straight weeks of travel, so I won't be doing streaming after this Thursday for a couple weeks. And in fact, now that I think about it, I may even just take the rest of the year off. It's holidays and stuff. So, and I've got some other projects, some other irons in the fire. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, so this is a demo he's put together. We're not going to use Helm. This demo was kind of made before Couchbase had a Helm presence. So there's a few extra manual steps here. But basically, this stuff right here, these commands, is setting up the stuff that Couchbase needs, the Couchbase operator needs to work on Kubernetes. I guess I should have said it up front that I'm not just doing a plain old Kubernetes deployment here. I'm going to use the Couchbase operator to deploy Couchbase and manage the Couchbase cluster. And I'm also going to deploy an ASP.NET Core app in that same cluster. So then these are just I'm going to use these commands as is. I'm going to take his repo here and use them as is. And then he's got this secret YAML file which contains the credentials that I want to configure Couchbase to use. And then Couchbase cluster, which defines how I want my Couchbase cluster to look. And so Couchbase is a cluster database, and multiple nodes acting together, much like Kubernetes is clustered, but Couchbase is a cluster database, so we have a cluster within a cluster. And we could manage that just with normal Kubernetes tools, but using the operator is going to give us a lot more power in configuring and managing that cluster. So I went through all this, and all the Couchbase stuff works fine. That's all great. And then he's got an example of, in here, he's got a Spring Boot, not the bin folder, a Spring Boot app that he created. Right here you can see, do I have Zoom it running? Let me just make sure. Yeah, so he's got his own image, Couchbase Java sample that he's created and put on his Docker Hub, Dennis W.S. Rosa, that he's using for this application. All that sample app does is just sort of, on a regular basis, it adds data to Couchbase and also provides a REST API, a couple REST API endpoints. So I thought, well, I'll just take this and instead of Spring Boot, or instead of this Couchbase Java sample, I'll just throw in my a Docker image of my own chatbot example. And that's what I've got over here. I've got Matt's TwitchBot web out here on Docker Hub. I've pushed this out here 3 days ago. And so then what I did was we'll go over here to my TwitchBot app YAML file, and I've basically made the appropriate changes to this. I have added a bunch of environmental variables here for the Twitch keys and the OAuth keys and stuff like that that needs to be kept as a secret. I'm not going to show you, but there's TwitchBot app secret file that contains all those keys and password information, things like that. And then I'm just using these to pass them as environment variables to the ASP.NET app, which ASP.NET app will pick up those environment variables and overwrite the app settings with them. So I'm pulling from 2 different secrets. Oh wait, actually, that might be wrong. That may be the problem here. I may have just found the problem. So I've got 2 different secret files. One is my Couchbase secret, and one is my TwitchBot app secret. And notice I've just highlighted the TwitchBot app secret, and it seems to be looking in there for the username and password. Let me just take this off screen because I don't think those are in there. They are not in there, so that may be the problem. Okay, so hey, I found the problem on the stream here. So these should be from wait, TwitchBot, hang on, let me just go check over here. The secret is CB TwitchBot auth. Yeah, that's okay. Okay. I think it's actually the reverse is my problem. So CB TwitchBot auth, that's the secret file for the Couchbase cluster. but and this is from CB TwitchBot. Okay, so that's fine, but this is not correct. So I need to go and I need to make a change. I'm going to call this the TwitchBot app secret, and I wish I could show you on the screen, but it contains sensitive information, so I cannot do that. I already came pretty close to doing that last stream. So these should be pulling from that secret file. And the only thing it should be pulling from the Couchbase secret is the username, password, and the list of the servers. In this case, the list of the server is just a reference to the actual CB TwitchBot. Okay. Okay, I want to review the Couchbase cluster, and you could do all this stuff manually or write your own scripts to manage these things. But the point of this on Kubernetes, the point of this operator is that this is a configuration file that is Couchbase specific, and this is something that Couchbase itself has created as an operator to work with Couchbase server. So you can define your cluster in a declarative fashion. I can define which buckets are on Couchbase. I can define how big I want my cluster to be. In this case, I said, excuse me, give me a cluster of size 2, which is very much on the small side, but that's fine for a chat app. And I'm trying to save a few bucks here in Azure. And which services do I want? And I can define, I can say I want all 3 of these services on every node. I can also break it down and say I want data on this node and I want query and index on the other node. And that's probably a little bit more realistic. And question from coding. Are you storing everything on the default namespace? For this case, yes. Everything is default namespace. This is all I've got running in this one cluster is just the ASP.NET and the Couchbase cluster. Everything's default namespace. I don't think I define namespace here in the YAML files, though. I think I define that at the command line with kubectl. And again, my knowledge of Kubernetes is pretty slim. I do have this handy book here. It might be a little outdated at this point, but Kubernetes in Action from Manning. But you can see I've only read a small portion of it. And I fear that some of it is maybe out of date with some of the newer changes to Kubernetes. So I kind of want to try this now. Because if I show you right now, let's bring up the command line. So nice, yeah. So I've currently got connected to an AKS cluster. So you can see I've got Couchbase is running fine. I can connect to that if I set up a port forward and show you that if we need to. So we've got 2 nodes at Couchbase. We've got the admission service and the operator also running in Couchbase. The operator is what actually manages these other nodes. So if I go and change the YAML file and say, give me 3 nodes instead, the operator is what's going to do that. I remember a problem I had was not having access to my resources because of the namespace. Yes, that can be tricky. I'm using only default namespace as far as I know. But you can see what I've got here is the problem is when I deploy my ASP.NET app, it's saying create container config error. You're storing the GitLab secret. I see. I don't know what the heck that error message means. And then if I do kubectl, what is it, logs? And then the name of the pod, I get this. Error from server, container in pod is waiting to start, which doesn't really tell me anything else either. So I was hoping there's a better way to diagnose what the problem is going on here. But I think I may have found it. So what I'm going to do, and I think I even made some notes of this somewhere. Let me see if I can find my notes. Maybe I don't have them written down. That would be unfortunate. Okay, but anyway, it's bring this up here. I'm just going to sort of follow the README that Dennis laid out because I haven't quite remembered all these command line commands yet. Okay, so we're going to say kubectl, and I'm not going to create because it's already created, but I'm going to do a replace. I need to get to my Kubernetes folder first. And that's TwitchBot Kubernetes. So here's all my YAML files here. So I'm doing a kubectl. I'm already connected to and authenticated to the AKS cluster. So I'm running this not on Minikube, I'm running this on Azure on AKS. kubectl. We're going to replace -f, and we're going to say twitchbot app. Okay? I thought I said replace, but now there's two of them. That's unfortunate. Is that, did I make some sort, what change did I make? Did I change a name or something? I can't tell. I haven't committed source code yet. Well, I'm getting the same error there, unfortunately, so that's probably not it. But let's see, can I, what is it? I want to kill these pods. What is it? I'm going to stop the pod. Basic commands, delete. I'll get pods, kubectl, delete. And we'll delete this one here. No label selector or all flags specified. Huh? About to specify the YAML file. But no name, resource provided. Okay, well, I need to know how to delete a pod because I need to use that in the demo eventually. But, delete pod? Oh, there we go. So if I say get pods, that one's going to be gone. No, it's still there. Oh, now it's back to container creating. Okay, kubectl. I want to, well, how do I just get rid of that pod? Just kubectl delete. I mean, that's the YAML file. Is there a dash F, like a force, something like that? Okay, so that got rid of it. I just removed that YAML file. Okay, so maybe I'll try it again. See what happens. No, not replace. I want to create. Okay. So it's creating a container. An error. So I'm in the same place. So it must be something different. Although that definitely is a problem. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm stuck. That's where I'm stuck. The Couchbase stuff works fine. It works great. Exactly how I expect, which is good news for me because I got to demo that in a couple weeks at a booth. But I can't get my ASP.NET application to go. So I assume it's something I've done wrong with either how I've pushed my image out to Docker Hub, or I've done something wrong with secrets, or done something else I don't even know about. But the problem I'm having is that I'm not getting enough information here from the way I'm doing it to really understand what's going on. So I might have to have another peek in the Kubernetes in Action book, or I don't know, just bother Dennis some more. I've already bothered him enough with this though. So that's where we are with that. So that's Kubernetes, and hopefully maybe the next time I stream, I'll have this problem fixed, and the chatbot will be running just all the time. That would be nice. So it could even run potentially while I'm not streaming, right? So you could come up to my chat room and type in something, and the bot would respond to you. You know, much like Coral is always lurking in this channel. He's just always connected with his IRC client. I would also have my bot also always lurking in this channel. Okay, so let's go over now to my chatbot app. So we're going to have a cut right there. We're switching over now to some chatbot stuff. And so what you can see here is this is the exception that caused my chatbot to fail. Let me zoom in on this. Null reference exception. Let's see, encoding. Will you work with Kafka and event sourcing again? I don't have any plans to work with Kafka? I think I did a lot of that. I kind of exhausted. Well, I obviously didn't exhaust. There's always more to learn with anything. But I did enough with Kafka, I think, for now that I'm pretty happy with the way that worked out. Definitely a cold going. Event sourcing, that would probably have to involve Kafka then, wouldn't it? Or Rabbit or something along those lines. Service bus or something. I could be persuaded. Is that something you're interested in coding? If I survive, woo! If I survive this sickness, thank you. Bless you with delay. Yeah, I think it's something I'm interested in, and trying to. I've never actually. I obviously didn't achieve it. My experiment did not go as I'd hoped, with just using Couchbase eventing. So we got to bring in some other architecture for that. I think it would have to take some more research for me to kind of figure out which direction to go with it. But I could be persuaded to look at event sourcing again. Anything in particular? Have you done event sourcing? Is that what you're asking, or something you're looking to get into? Because that's definitely something that's a back-end data-driven thing. I could definitely see, covering in future episodes. But for now, I've got this unhandled exception. So what's happened? This exception has happened in the user has arrived handle. User has arrived handler. And there's a no reference exception in there. So this is a handler that I've been trying to use for... Excuse me, sorry. At your full-time job, they're planning to implement it. Oh, that's very interesting. I'd like to know more about it myself before I just dive into it here. But it's something I'd definitely like to pursue. Yeah, absolutely. So I will keep that. Let me just make a note. Just keep it on my agenda here is episode, or let's just go topic ideas. I think we covered CQRS pretty well. CQRS itself is a separate concept than event sourcing, but they're often related. So event sourcing, I think, is what I want to look into more. But on your own, you've tried to work with it. You deployed a Docker Swarm server at home. Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong in coding, but Docker Swarm is kind of like Docker's version of Kubernetes. Or are they complementary? I'm not 100% sure. I thought Docker Swarm was an orchestration framework, and which is kind of curious because if you look at Docker, like Docker for desktop, Kubernetes is one of the options, right? And you'd think that they'd want to promote Docker Swarm. So I don't know. Yeah, CQRS was pretty clear. Okay, good. I'm glad you found it clear, and I'm using a very lightweight CQRS in my chatbot as well. So I think I'm using the mediator pattern for sure and trying to use CQRS. I don't know how successful I am. But so I was plenty of that. So event sourcing is something I definitely want to explore some more. And I know it's a topic that a lot of Couchbase users and customers are interested in as well. So it would be nice to create some CQRS content in general for the Couchbase community. Some getting started, or some tips, or some ideas, or just work through some of the issues with it, and kind of see how Couchbase fits into that picture. Yeah. Okay, Gamlor, what is the cancellation token for in the chatbot? I doubt that I can cancel my command. Yeah, the cancellation token is this is just part of the interface. This has to do with threading, I believe. It's nothing you can do to trigger a cancellation. And this is just part of the implementation. For me, it was easier to deploy server instances on Docker Swarm. It's the easy version of Kubernetes. You're not the first person to tell me that in coding, that, Docker is easier, but Kubernetes is what people tend to use in production, apparently. Easy to install, but doesn't have all the features of Kubernetes, of course. Yep, there you go. So that's kind of, that kind of seems to be the case. The framework interface comes with a cancellation token. Yeah, this is part of the mediator class. So when I inherit this interface, cancellation, and I have to implement this handle class, cancellation token is in there as well. And so that has to do with the threading. So if I've ever wanted to look at cancellation, I could, right? And that also figures into SignalR, I believe, as well. But I've not dipped into any of that stuff yet. I might not have to. That might just be sort of ambient stuff that's in the framework. So the error I'm getting, this is the user has arrived handler, and this is meant to check whenever a user says a message in the chat, it's meant to check, is this person chatting for the first time in recent memory? And I'm defining recent memory as 12 hours, I think. And if it's their first time chatting, then I want to play some fanfare for them. Well, for some of them, right? For a select amount of users, mods, subscribers, regulars, things like that. I'm still trying to work out that kind of stuff. But the technical coding here, this is kind of to replace, kind of to substitute for the Twitch bot has a user has arrived event, but doesn't seem to quite work how I'd expect it to. So I wanted to do this instead. So instead of just checking if they're arrived, let's just check to see if they're chatting for the first time today, let's say. And if so, let's do some fanfare for them. Now, I'm getting a null reference exception. Everyone loves null reference exception somewhere in this method. And I think it happened when Gamlor, who was the first person to chat today, chatted. Now, the thing is, I tested this out earlier. I tested out fanfare for myself earlier before I started the stream, and it worked. So I suspect, I don't have any sort of fanfare defined for Gamlor, so I suspect there's something going wrong here with a user that doesn't have fanfare. So I thought I had this unit tested quite well, but apparently I do not. User has arrived handler tests. So I've got some tests here, and they may not be good tests, but we're going to create a recent activity marker document if it doesn't exist. And that's going to have an expiration on it, a TTL of 12 hours, like I said before. And so if the marker doesn't exist, create it. If the marker does exist, don't create, update it. And then I've got send fanfare. This is just to test the marker document part of it. And this is to test sending the fanfare if the user has fanfare. And this is their first time chatting in like 12 hours, right? So if they don't have fanfare, it should not send it. If they do have fanfare, it should send it. And in all cases, that arrived recently document does not exist. That's the whole point of that there. So I'm kind of wondering where the null reference exception is coming in. So I don't know. I guess we can just write a unit test and see what happens. I don't know what to call this yet, but we'll just put a test on it. Async task, I don't know, null reference exception something or other, right? So with your unit test, we do a range, act, assert. With my unit test anyway, I do this. I like to be very explicit about this. So in Gamlor's case, let's just look at this here. So it's going to look to see if that document exists, and it's going to return false because you wouldn't have arrived lately, so that's not going to exist. Debug it, man. Yeah, I could go through a debug, but the thing is, I'd have to, how do I trigger that debug? Like an integration. I have to depend on you all to do it, because right now, if I chat, if I trigger it, it's going to find me in there. It's going to work. So also, debugging is a helpful tool, yes, but this unit test is going to, whenever there's a bug, have a unit test in place to reproduce the bug and then fix it. Yeah, before unit test. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to do that, but I'm going to walk through it. I'm going to trigger it from a unit test and then debug the code from the unit test. So we're going to have a handle, and this is going to have some sort of request. No cancellation token. I'm going to wait that. So now I have this request here. Var request equals new user has arrived. And this is just going to be a chat message in there. And chat message, I'm just going to get that. Just going to be this standard stuff here. Okay. Username is let's just so Gambler. You're the man? Am I the man? Why do you say that? Chat message request goes down here. Okay. So user has arrived. Now I want to arrange the fact that the user has not arrived recently. So we're going to arrange this. Yeah, preserved in a unit test for generations to come. That's right. Bucket.setup. We're going to have this mock setup m.exist async arrived recently, and this is going to return async false, which says that you've not arrived recently, Gambler. For sure you know better than me what you're doing. I don't know about that. But I think this is a situation where, and in fact, my last job, when I was a core contributor to the code, this was just the policy, is if you find a bug, write a unit test to reproduce the bug, and then fix it. And then when we go through a code review, we would check for that. Like, okay, there was a bug here. Did you write a unit test for it? Yes, I did. Here's how I reproduced it. So that we can understand what the problem was, and then hopefully we learn and not make that mistake again next time. It's adding unit tests. I love writing unit tests. It's one of my favorite things to do, which might be weird to say, but I like doing it. Except when it's really hard to. When it's hard to write unit tests, I don't like it. So that's another thing. You got to make your code easier to test, as easy as possible to test. And that is something I struggle with. A philosophical question here. What do you think about testing code with more code, unit test? What do I think about it? I think it's great. And there's been, and I can just say this from experience, my last position, we caught so many regressions and problems before it got into production by just having this great suite of unit tests to run. Unit tests, not just only unit tests, but also integration tests, smoke tests, things like that as well. Yes, yeah, I agree with all these comments here. Yeah, it definitely depends on the code base. If it's test friendly, if it's not test friendly, it is still kind of a fun challenge to try to see if you can test something if it's not written to be test friendly. That can be a frustrating challenge sometimes, or can be a very rewarding challenge to say, I'm going to create some crazy mock or some sort of fake, and I'm going to unit test this thing. If the code base never had automated tests, it can be pain to discover all the hidden dependencies. Yeah, absolutely. And there were some spots in that code base that were very difficult to write unit tests for. So we ended up writing some integration tests for them, which is fine. Integration tests are good too. They're not, they can be a little more fragile, and they're definitely slower. But still valuable, right? I don't have any integration tests in this code base right now, for instance, and that's why, I'm discovering things like this. I don't have any integration tests. I probably should add some at some point. Okay, so again, what doesn't exist? Have you had bugs in unit tests before? Of course. I've written bad unit tests. Is it common? Is it common? I would say it's probably less common than bugs in the actual production code. But it does happen. But it's kind of the same. I think of unit tests as kind of like what is it? Dual entry accounting, where this is a accounting concept with money, right? Where you have a transaction, you add it to the ledger, and you enter it into one sheet, and then you enter the corresponding transaction in another sheet. And at the end of a financial period, I used to work in a business office. At the end of the financial period, you do what's called a reconciliation process, where you go through and you check to make sure everything matches. I essentially do the same thing with balancing my checkbook, my own personal finances. I do double entry accounting. Whenever I make a purchase, I enter that as a receipt into my system, and then I categorize it into an account, and then every few days, I'll go look at my actual bank's website and see, okay, yes, this transaction matches what I entered here. Oh no, this transaction I'd made a typo, so I'm going to fix it here. This transaction I didn't enter at all, so now I'm missing something in my checkbook. And I've written some software for that. And it used to be on DB4O again, believe it or not, but it's on SQLite now. And so every few days, I go through and do that kind of thing. So sometimes I make mistakes in entry, sometimes I make mistakes in the reconcile. Sometimes the bank makes mistakes. Sometimes the place where I buy something makes mistakes. Do not apologize for asking questions in here in coding. What about testing code that interacts with others' code? I mean, for example, testing code that interacts with databases. Mongoose, for example, isn't necessary to test it, right? Well, it depends. So I wouldn't write it if you're using a library like Mongoose, or the Couchbase equivalent of that is Ottoman, by the way. If you're writing a test if you're writing a test just to make sure the Ottoman works, that's probably not necessary, because hopefully Ottoman already has their own suite of unit tests. But if you are testing, you're doing integration tests from all the way from the UI or the REST endpoint down to make sure the right data is stored inside Couchbase. That test would involve all those parts, including Ottoman, including Mongoose or whatever else you're using, including Entity Framework. So you're not testing Entity Framework specifically, but you're testing a bunch of code that uses Entity Framework or uses Ottoman or uses Mongoose. If the database is fast enough, I like to test against that database, because the database can have surprising behavior. Absolutely. And maybe not just the database, but also the code that you thought that maybe you've mocked out for your unit test behaves differently than what you expect to, which is kind of what's happening to me right now. It's not the database having surprising behavior, but it's my logic, I think, is having surprising behavior. So right now, this is an example, a Couchbase bucket operation. See if this document exists. I'm not going to write a test to make sure that exists works. That's a library I'm using. I'm going to assume that works. But I may write a test that involves, this function itself. So I'm testing the integration points. It's an integration test in a way of all those things. Now, mine's still a unit test. I'm not hitting the actual database, but absolutely. And the other thing, and actually I can show you an example of this, is one thing you might want to do. And I had to do this, actually. Because sometimes mocking or faking out a third-party library is very challenging. So what you can do is you can create your own wrapper around that. And that's what I've done for the Twitch API. Again, where I assume the libraries that I use work, I try to avoid mocks and use the real thing that's feasible and fast. Yes, absolutely. But in this case, I was trying to mock this Twitch API, and so I had to mock this, v5, and users. I had to mock all those things, and then I had to, put some verification behavior around this. That is a lot of hoops to jump through just to mock this out. So instead of that, I said, and there's a lot of pieces you need to mock because this API has a lot of stuff in it. I only needed, for now anyway, I only need this to get that user by their name to make sure they exist. Does that user exist? So I created this API wrapper, and since I follow this interface, this is much more easy for me, much easier for me to mock this out. So, and again, an integration test would probably go ahead and say, well, let's actually call the real API and test this end-to-end. But I wasn't interested in that for the unit test. I just wanted to test that the rest of my logic works. And so we're going to mock out just the Twitch API. So I've got a wrapper around that. I've created a wrapper. That's a a facade strategy, facade pattern. You might consider that a facade pattern or something like that. If you want to sort of hide away the details of a third-party library. Great example for creating a facade against a service you're using for easier testing. Yeah. I'm using it for easier testing, and I'm also using it to it also just kind of simplifies the setup a little bit. I'm sort of hiding those details of creating the API, and I'm just injecting a real simple facade that provides some methods there. So that may be the only thing I ever use that service for is check to see if a user exists. But if I need to later, I can expand on that. And I don't have to worry about the underlying API details of it. And if the API itself changes, well, that's fine, because now I have sort of a layer of indirection. And that's it's a joke, right? The solution to any problem in computer science is to add another layer of indirection. Sometimes that can be taken to the extreme, but oftentimes that is a good approach, to add sort of a middle layer between some API and another API, so that it acts as kind of a buffer. All right, so we're running unit tests. So Gambler doesn't exist. Fine. This is kind of a white box unit test. So that would be false, and so that's not going to execute. So it's going to create user arrived recently data. So it's going to go ahead and create that. Is there anything in there where a null reference exception would happen? I don't think so. Get user profile. That's probably right there. That's probably it, because you don't have a profile either, Gambler, in the system. So this is going to return a null. Because I'm basically checking to see if you have, I'm assuming you have a profile, which is not a good assumption. By the way, my live testing isn't on. I have to turn this on every time. So in this case, I'm going to assume this should be no big deal. I don't really care about this. Setup m dot. I don't care. This is anything. Is any document? Yeah, I don't really care. Yeah. It's dynamic, I guess. Okay, so what I want to do is, that might be nice too. Okay, user has not arrived recently. Don't care about the arrived recently document being added. User does not have a profile. So in my TwitchBot system, users can have a profile, but not every user does have a profile. You have to actually opt into that. You say bang profile to create profile, and you can set some. Right now it's just one thing. You can set a shout-out message in your profile. But I've also added does have fanfare in a profile, and I'm going to change that to be defining the fanfare. So right now the situation is Gambler does not have a user profile, so therefore I believe it's going to be returning a null. So we're going to say like this. Mock this bucket setup. And this is going to be username to lower. This is going to return async, and I've got a fake here, a fake operation result, where the value is going to be null. And why isn't the live testing going? Did I turn it on? There we go. I really like the live testing feature in Visual Studio. But it doesn't seem to be... Oh, there we go. Okay. So we've definitely got an error happening, null reference exception. Well, we need to assert that basically this is going to return default. No. Okay. Well, really, we just want to assert that no exception is happening. What we really care about, but we could just assert, we could just verify mock hub verify that m dot, was it clients? Wait, is that what I want to mock? The hub? No, it's this one. I don't know if I've told you all this or not, but I've changed my signal R to strongly typed hubs for better unit testing. Another reason, and it's also just strongly typed, so it's a little. I'm not passing magic strings around inside the program. So receive fanfare and doesn't matter. Is any string. Whoops. That should never happen. What's the problem here? No overload. String username. Huh? Oh, is any string. Okay. Okay, and so it's failing here. So we clearly have got some sort of exception happening. Oh, come on, no magic string to confuse yourself in a month. Yeah. Well, I'm going to be confused enough in a month. Believe me. So now I'm going to do what encoding suggested, and I'm going to step through this just to sort of show that this is what I think is happening.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Thank you for the follow, Oh boy. Renatos Ramos. Renatos Ramos? Is that right? Renatos Ramos? Thanks for hanging out with us. Appreciate the follow. All right, so step through here. User has not arrived recently. Oh, and another follow from Dreidel04. Thank you both for the follow. I appreciate that. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for lurking. And feel free to jump in anytime with questions. As I say, every time I start this stream, there is no such thing as a stupid question in this stream. So anything, ask away. I will not tolerate, head dreidel, yes, with the thumbs up, cool. I will not tolerate anybody mocking you or calling your question stupid, nothing like that. And because I truly believe this, that any question we can all learn from. So you're welcome to lurk, of course, but if you have a question and you're afraid to ask, please don't be. This is a safe place to ask your questions. Okay, so there's that. Yep, that should work. I don't care. This profile returns a null, which is what I kind of arranged it to do. But there's where the null reference exception will happen. Bam. Okay, so we've got a unit test that confirms the bug. And all we have to do here is, if there is no profile, then there can be no fanfare. So if profile equals null, return default. Just a little guard clause. And look at that, passing tests. So, terrific. I'm going to run this chatbot again. I'm still running it locally. But now I'm just going to refresh it here on OBS. Refresh, and you can see a little pop-up there at the bottom of the screen. That's also kind of new. Just a little message to convey that the bot is running visually. And so now, if anyone chats, it should be fine, but we can do something like bang hello bot. So let me just check to see if that's crashed anything. And I'm just going to the bottom of the output here. So far, so good. No crashes. So I could do something like live coders, and that should... Okay, great. So we're in good shape. Now, if I have fanfare defined for... I have fanfare defined for a few people, a few regulars. A gambler, you're slowly becoming a regular, so I might ask you for a fanfare preference soon. But I've got Calvin Allen, Coral R, TBD Gamer, and myself all have fanfare defined. So if any of those people are lurking right now and you want to see your fanfare, now would be a good time to hit the old chat. Let me just make sure that's who I've got. Yes, Calvin A. Allen, Matthew D. Groves, TBD Gamer, and Coral R all have fanfare defined. So there we go. So fixed a bug. Great. So it's 11 o'clock now. My voice is actually feeling all right. I can still feel a little bit of something trying to sneak up on me back in there. But I'm holding it at bay with scalding hot coffee right now. So maybe let's just do a little more work on the chatbot and then we'll call it a day. I've got lots of other stuff to do. But I really love hanging out here in the stream and answering questions and working on fun stuff with y'all. So I'm gonna hang out a little longer. This is the backlog of stuff. We don't have any sort of formal project management system for this yet. I suppose if I wanted to get contributions, I could create something like that. But this is what I've got right now. These are some commands that someone in the chat room just started typing at random, and I'm not sure what these would do. But those might be commands worth looking at. I thought about adding a trout command. That'd be fun. Bookmark command. So if someone wanted to take notes about the stream, or I don't know exactly sure how that would work. A help command. So there's bang help, which already works. But if you want to drill in on a specific command, bang help plus the name of the command might be good. I think what I was going to focus on is the fanfare entrance stuff. Right now it's not really data driven. Let's see if I can show you what I mean here. If I can connect to the local database, this is running locally inside of Docker, spun up by Docker Hub. But if you look inside of this, my Twitch data, so I'll look for myself, for instance, get my own profile, and there I am. You can see I've got a shout out message and I've got this has fanfare is true. So that's just a flag, and the actual data itself I've hard coded into, I'll see over here, I've hard coded into JavaScript on the client side. Where would the notes go? Maybe there's a command to recall the notes and the notes are sent in private chat or something like that. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I remember writing down this idea. I thought it was interesting. But, I mean, the notes would go in the database somewhere. Maybe you have your notes document. Maybe they go in your profile. I'm not sure. But what would be the point of them, I guess, is what would be the use? What's the use case? So I need to think about that some more. But someone else, some other live coder does something similar, bookmarks or something. And maybe they're used by the live coder to generate show notes, something along those lines. So whenever you in the chat see something interesting, you make a note of it, and it'll save the time code and things like that. And so when I go later and publish this somewhere, I can just draw from those. So I'm sort of crowdsourcing my show notes. I don't really have show notes. I don't really publish these anywhere on my blog or anything. Maybe I should do that at some point, but currently do not do that. So this is the fanfare stuff. It just plays a little toast message at the bottom of the screen. And it plays a little video clip, which is this is defined right here, for a certain amount of time. It'll show the message on the screen and play a video clip, and that's what this is doing. What's the timeout in the fanfare JSON? Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So this clip is meant to play. You can see it starts at 2:17 and it goes to 2:20. So that's like a 3-second clip, but there is some loading time and some things like that. So I have it after 6 seconds. It hides all that stuff. And same thing down here. So this is a longer clip. This is my fanfare clip that I really like. It's a little bit longer, so I gave it 16 seconds till it shuts it off. Same with TBD Gamer and CoralR. So what I'd like to do is maybe store this information in the profile itself instead of hard coding into JavaScript. So therefore, if I wanted to add fanfare, or someone else wanted to add fanfare, it would just be a matter of modifying the data. And so then that corresponds to, well, I thought I had it written down somewhere. Some ideas for basically, like, you could say profile, fanfare, and you could, I don't know, profile, fanfare, and then you could say YouTube, be like YouTube code. Profile, fanfare, this is getting a little complicated, but profile, fanfare, video, profile, fanfare, timeouts, a timeout period, profile, fanfare, message. This would be a text. So an individual person could set their own video, set their own message, things like that. And then profile, fanfare, enable, username. This would be only Matthew D. Groves has permission to execute this. So anyone can define their fanfare stuff, but I'm the only one that can turn it on, right? I don't want that to get out of control where it's fanfare all the time. The other thing I was thinking about is, what if two people chat at the same time, or close to the same time? How's the fanfare work with that? Because I don't want overlapping fanfares. That would be kind of obnoxious. So maybe some sort of queuing system into the fanfare on the client side, probably. I'll think about that later. By the way, I'm using this Toast pop-up JavaScript library called Notice, which is pretty nice. And that's what you saw. If I refresh this page at the bottom, you'll see right there. That little pop-up's from Notice. Gambler, have a good night. Have a good sleep. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you again another time. So I'm just thinking, maybe we make this more data-driven. So for myself, I could take this stuff here. And so instead of has fanfare, I just say fanfare and put that in here. Like so. And so I kind of want is YouTube code to be just this part right here. I probably need a YouTube, like a start time would be, in my case, 94. This is getting a little bit complex for someone to manage in the channel themselves, right? 109. It seems like that might be more of a UI thing, that I'd have to go in and do that on the UI, which might be a useful tool to have anyway if I'm going to test these fanfares out and see if they work. So maybe we can go ahead. We can actually create a UI page for this app. So over here on my web, I'll just create a I don't know. We'll create a class called a profile controller. This will be something that only I'd have access to. So I have to figure out how to restrict that as well. But let's just say HTTP GET, and this is going to be route profile. Okay, we'll make these async, why not? iAction results. So this will be like profile editor. And we could just say Twitch username, something like that. String Twitch username. Maybe some camel casing. I think that's what it's complaining about there. Something like that. This needs to be task because it's async. Okay. So the profile editor would then just be return like a view of profile editor with the profile editor model. So I'll just call this model. Model equals this. I don't. So here's the thing. Like I'm gonna have this go off to mediator to get this. Right. So it's going to be send. This will be like a new get profile. But the thing is, do I have that itself return the view model, or do I have it return something else and then map that to the view model? I don't know. That's a good question. Let's just go with get profile view model for now, and we'll give that Twitch username. Well, why is this Server Explorer keep popping up? So in core, I've got requests, and we'll make this a request. Get profile view model. Request, and this is going to return a profile view model. So I'm kind of feeling like that's not the right thing to do because view model is strictly a UI concern. But if I put this in here, this has to be in the core. So this would be returned like Twitch. What did I call it? Twitcher profile. So this will be the Twitcher profile. What doesn't like about this? 0 parameters. Huh? Oh, yeah. This is going to be get only auto property Twitch username. Okay, fine. And then so we could do a automapper type situation here, but let's start without automapper first, and we'll say equals new profile editor view model. Why not? So we'll put this in our UI project inside models. Twitch or profile editor view model. Okay. Okay, and then Twitcher profile has a number of things in it, like oh, this should be await. Dot shout message. So we say model dot shout message equals like so. And well, this is kind of a model dot name Twitch username equals Twitch username. If we want to display that, that's going to be a display only sort of thing. Which, by the way, this could return Oh, whoops. I don't have it handled before yet. But it might be the case that this profile doesn't exist. In which case, I guess this will return a null or something? Or would I want it to create the profile? If, and this is, oh geez Louise. See, I'm now adding some logic in here that I may not want to. I want this again to be a thick method, but I don't know. Let's go with it. Twitter profile equals null. Then we're going to await mediator.send new create profile Twitch username, and this shouldn't be view model anymore. This should just be get profile. So this is a, yeah, okay. This is a query, and this is going to be a command. So you've got some, I've got some separation here. So this will be create profile. This will be very similar to that other class there. But this won't actually return anything. This will just be plain old iRequest. And constructor. Whoops. Yes, auto property. Okay. So then the next step would be, well, I'd have to then go and get that profile again. Or would I? And the other option would be I could just always fire off a create profile at the beginning, and then I'm always guaranteed there'll be a profile when I go and get it. This would be a create profile if exists kind of command. Or create profile if doesn't exist. I don't know why that rename kind of fails. So that's always going to create a profile if it doesn't exist. And then this is always going to return something then. And then I would pipe it to the view model. Fine. This is going to be something like model.fanfare. Profile.fanfare, which is going to be a more complex object. And the Twitch profile. Let's call it fanfare info.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hey, Calvin. Thanks for stopping in. What do you think of your fanfare? Your little entrance video there. You're the first person to try that feature out, and it actually works. So what's up? Thanks for stopping in. You like it? I'm glad you like it. I used the norm clip for you. That's something I've been working on for a while. TBD Gamer also has one, and Coral has one, and myself, I have one too. But it's weird to enter your own stream. I hope you like it. A little late today, meetings all morning. That's fine. That's fine, man. We're all busy. It's cool. Thanks for stopping in. By the way, everybody, congratulations are in order for Calvin Allen. He is now a Microsoft MVP. He has received the MVP award, his first one. Congratulations, Calvin. Hype, hype, hype. Let's give him a little bit of bada bing, bada boom. Right there in the chat. There we go. Yeah, love it, love it. Glad to have you on board, Calvin. And of course, now you know all the secret information that MVPs know. We're all privy to. We go to the secret meetings all the time and plot our world domination. But congratulations, Calvin. Just working on that fanfare thing you just saw there. It's kind of a hack right now, and I want to make it a little more data driven, so I don't have to if I want to add or update the fanfare, I don't have to redeploy the application every time. That's kind of what I'm working on right now. So this is going to have a YouTube code. It's going to have I don't know. We can put an enabled on there. Just a little Boolean flag. We have this YouTube start time and a YouTube end time. And a message, the hype message. And what else? I can also put in a int timeout. Might be a separate parameter. Is there anything else I need? Let me go back over to the hub. Timeout, the URL, which is going to be this code, plus the start time, plus the end time. Everything else will be pretty much the same. Message, timeout, and okay. I think that's all I need. Okay, and we'll just put that on there. Although this is a view model, I probably want to flatten that out. Maybe, I don't know. What do you think, Calvin? View models, form models, I guess. Should those be flat, completely flat, or is it okay to have objects within objects? I can't remember what we did. I can't remember what I did for a learning builder. If we flattened them down or left them complex. And I think this is probably going to be replaced with AutoMapper. Eventually, you do nested objects sometimes. I think the problem here is if I change this fanfare info as, this is sort of a data model right now. If I change this, that's being bubbled up directly to the UI. I don't know if I want to necessarily do that. So let's just do it like so. We're going to have it here, and we're going to put fanfare in front of all of these. May regret this. But there we go. The nested ones are flattened as much as possible too. Okay. Yeah. We'll go with this. And I believe AutoMapper can handle this. I haven't used AutoMapper in ages, but I believe it can handle that. So, but in the meantime, we're just going to do not AutoMapper. I find I do that a lot with lists, though, the more I think about it. You do what? Flatten them or not flatten them? Twitcher profile.fanfare.message. Timeout. Twitcher. Some object, which then has a list some object. Okay, yeah, I think that makes sense. But then the sum object would be itself a view model and not the actual domain object. It's basically another layer of indirection here, is what I think I'm getting at. YouTube code, Twitcher profile, .fanfare.youtube code. YouTube end time equals Twitcher profile .fanfare.youtube end time. This will be YouTube start time. Oh, nope. YouTube start time. Okay, so is that it? There's 5 things in the fanfare. 3, 4. Oh, what? Enable YouTube code start message timeout. 6 things. I can't count. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that is sort of I'm calling it view model. It's really just the form, I guess. It's going to be kind of a form. The username can't be changed, but these will be in an editable form. So let's go and make a beautiful web form next. This will be in what? This is a profile controller. Whoops. So I'm going to create a new folder called Profile. And we'll just get lazy and copy the CS HTML over here. But what I'm actually going to call it is Profile Editor. Now I'm kind of skipping a step because I'm assuming that I can go directly to a user's profile by just typing in the URL by hand. So it's going to be /profile/Calvin A. Allen. Now, to make this more robust, I'd probably want like an index of all the users. However, no, probably not. Probably what I want is another step where it might have an index of existing users, or the ability to add a new one. So like your standard sort of list page, which would need a nickel query to do that in Couchbase. And so I'm not quite ready to do that just yet. And this is not a major problem yet. This has not become unmanageable. I don't have a huge amount of people that I have fanfare for, so or profile editing for. This is not just fanfare, right? This could be any user profile. Okay, but there we go. So now I've got this file here, and we're going to basically just we're going to womp this out of here. Notice I might want to leave in there. We'll see. But this is going to be a profile editor. And at the top, I'm going to have model profile editor view model. Can I use model here? Yeah, I can. But Twitch username plus profile editor. Okay. And so this is going to be just to edit profile for model.twitch username. And then this will be the form right here. I can't type. HTML form. I'm not using any sort of fancy JavaScript framework. This is all going to be old school server-side form. Okay. Let's see if this works. Yeah, baby. Yeah, we're doing it. Hey, what happened here? Your latest message, you lost the moderator and founder button. Or does it only do it every so often, like batches them together? I don't know. Okay. So the URL I'm looking for is /profile/ maybe they show on my side. You know, this is going to fail because I didn't actually create the handlers. Kind of forgot about that. That's going to be an important part. Yep, unhandled exception. There's no handler found. Whoops-a-daisy. No, now they're back. What is going on? Yeah, that's weird. I don't know. So I forgot I need to create handlers for these. It's kind of important. Okay, so handlers. Create profile if not exists handler. Okay, this is going to be I request handler of create profile if not exists. Okay, and this other handler we need is get profile handler. Get profile handler. I request handler of get profile. Okay. Whoop! What happened there? What changed over here? Oh, it put I request. I don't need that. Okay. Okie dokie. Huh? Oh, yeah. This is I request handler of get profile. Twitcher profile, something like that. Or is it the other way around? Because this is a query. This is not a command. Nope. What did I do? Nope. I did this again. I don't want that. That's not a request. I want this. What is your problem? It's not implementer. Yeah, I know. I want to do that. Do that. Add the. What is going on? It must be convertible to get profile in order to use it as, okay. Yeah, I know it doesn't implement them. So put them in there. Come on, ReSharper, what's going on here? What am I doing wrong? I request handler. What am I doing? This is what it should be, right? That's what it should be. Okay. There we go. Whew. Look at that test coverage. Yeah, baby. It's all unit tests, though. Nothing, no integration. We were talking about this earlier. Okay.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Oh, hey, the follow from Farhadev1. Thank you, Farhadev. Appreciate it. Yeah, definitely got to start somewhere. I do want to get some integration tests in here. But I'm also kind of thinking soon, maybe not this week, but soon, we're going to get this deployed to AKS, Azure, Kubernetes services, or whatever it's called. Which, by the way, Calvin, do you know anything about Kubernetes? Because I'm stuck. The Couchbase stuff went great. What I'm stuck on is my actual ASP.NET app. I can't get it to. I can't get the pod to start running Kubernetes. Okay, that's fine. I was just asking. I'm fairly new and very much a neophyte. I was showing this earlier, my Kubernetes in action book, and where my bookmark is. That's how far I've gotten. So I assume something simple I've done with like the secrets, or maybe something wrong with my Docker image. I don't know. I need to figure that business out. Okay, profile controller. So look at this mess right here. That's going to have to be something. But secrets are easy. Put them in Key Vault. Yeah, I could do that. I could put them in Key Vault, but and I might do that. In fact, maybe that's one of the things I can do is I can just strip out all the secrets and see if that works, and then I can narrow down the problem at least. If not, just completely move to Key Vault. But I'm not sure if Key Vault can integrate with Kubernetes directly, or I'd have to call the Key Vault API. I don't know. I have to figure that out too. Anywho. All right, so I've got these handlers. Let's make them do something. Create a profile if it doesn't exist. So first we need to check to see, this should be async, by the way. Does the profile exist? If not, or if yes, bail out. If not, create a bare bones profile. Okay? So, does profile exist? We're going to need to go to Couchbase for that. So we'll bring that in here. One of my favorite things about Mediator is I can just do some dependency injection, bucket provider dot get bucket. Bucket is the data object to work with Couchbase. And I just got a message from Mrs. Groves asking when lunchtime is. This is an important part of my day, is lunchtime, so give me a second here. What is this? Oh. It's going to have to be a late lunch today. I got lots of meetings stacked up. I got a doctor's appointment as well. All right, anywho, does profile exist? So bucket dot exists async, and we're going to go off just the request dot Twitch username. This needs to be in await. Does profile exist? That's a Boolean, right? So if it does exist, then we're just going to return default. And we're done. I think that's pretty readable without the comments. Would you agree? Does the profile exist? If it does, then out of here. If not, create a bare bones profile. So we're going to do, again, an await bucket. Insert. We'll do an upsert, just in case there's a race condition or something. A new document. And we're going to stick to dynamic. Can we do Twitcher profile? Would that be okay to do? I think so. Yeah. Yeah, let's use Twitcher profile. And then we can just say ID equals, this is going to be the username, Twitch username, and the content itself is going to be, this is bare bones, so I'm not actually using anything from the request to do this, right? It's just going to be the username, which is the key, and that's pretty much it. I have this has fanfare thing. That's going to have to go away from the model. Everything else, this, I'm not sure. Yeah, this is fine if it's null. This is fine if it's null. Those are all fine. Yeah, that's really just it. Just a blank model with nothing in it. But I do want the type field to be in there. Create a bare bones profile. That's really it. And then we'll just return default again. Okay. So I'm going to write unit tests for this, but let's go ahead and flesh it out. I just want to get to a UI here soon. So we've got a this fanfare thing, fanfare.enabled. We'll get to that eventually. What's the other one? Get profile. So we have get profile handler. And this is once again going to need Couchbase. iBucket. Yep, okay. Bucket provider. Bucket equals bucket provider dot get bucket. Put that up there. Maybe I should make that a base class because that's something I'm doing a lot. I don't know. Don't know. Okay, so we'll get profile. This should be pretty simple. Return or an interface with a default implementation. No, don't start with that. Return bucket.get async Twitcher profile based on the request. Request.twitch username. And this, oh, so this should be the result. This is async. This has got to work this way. Result. Could check for errors here. Return result dot. Oh, darn it. Await. Result dot value. Okay. Bada bing, bada boom. Read only. Read only. I want like those green scribbles. Get rid of them. Okay. This is going to compile now. I know I made another change that might impact. Yeah. I did this. So I'm going to break this test. Maybe I shouldn't break that just yet. Maybe I should make this nullable. Oh, doesn't. I'm breaking something else because it's nullable. Oh, a test broke. But has fanfare equals has fanfare. What's broke here? Oh, this maybe. Dot has value. Okay, so we can say if profile dot has fanfare dot has value, and profile dot fanfare has value dot value. Woo! That's a lot, but okay, that'll make the test pass. Okay. That's going to have to be refactored. Okay, let's give it a shot. It compiled. Ship it. Compile, ship it. So I'm going to actually remove these. We're going to make this a UI instead. Okay, so I go to /profile Matthew D. Groves. I should get this lovely form, but instead I get a null reference exception. Why wouldn't I get a null reference exception? Of course I would. Because I don't have any unit tests. So of course there's a null reference exception. Oh, probably all these fanfares. Because fanfares are going to be null. Just see if all this stuff works. So it gets the profile. Yeah, great. But then it goes to here and okay. So what we'll do is put a little question mark there. What, doesn't it like that? Oh, hey, Maverick Twitch. Sorry, I didn't see you. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for checking this out here. We're doing some... Do you watch Silicon Valley TV series? Absolutely, I watch Silicon Valley TV series. New episode just came out. Well, a new episode. I watched the first episode of this season. I haven't watched... If there's a second episode of the season, I haven't watched it yet. Yeah, so there's a second one. I haven't watched that one yet. What was the problem here? This is returning... Oh, you know what I could probably do, and this is probably a better approach, honestly. And I think I could probably handle this. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Nullabilize this field. I'm going to say if Twitter profile.fanfare not equals null, and wrap those in that. That's what I'm going to do. No coalesce them. I could, but I don't need them to be any. This is a hack. Are you calling my code hacky, Calvin? How dare you accuse me? Such slander. Okay, and then I'll go back to Matthew Groves, and hey, it works. There we go. So we're out of UI now. Lovely UI it is. And so, on the UI, we'll start making a little form. I don't know why it keeps de-indenting my code. That doesn't need to be indented, I guess. Form. Oh, shoot. See, this is what I get for being away. I'm using command prompt to compile and execute instead of Eclipse. So, I'm not using Eclipse. This is Visual Studio. But I assume you're writing some Java then, or what are you writing there in Eclipse, or instead of Eclipse, I guess. Yes, Java. Okay. Yeah, this is actually C#. This is .NET Visual Studio. But so are you using? What are you using to edit your code? If you're not using Eclipse as an editor, are you using like VS Code or IntelliJ or something like that? I have Eclipse, okay. Yeah. Oh, man, I forget how to create a form. Gosh. It's like html.start form. Begin form. I have Eclipse, also have IntelliJ. End form. Doesn't like this. Cannot implicitly convert void to object. Huh? I don't know if IntelliJ supports C#. So, it might. But I know that JetBrains makes a product based on ReSharper and IntelliJ together, which is called Project Writer. IntelliJ may have some C# capabilities. I'm not sure, but Writer is their full-blown C# IDE profiling tool. Yeah, In IntelliJ, yeah. IntelliJ is like, that's JetBrains' like flagship product. Oh, geez, Calvin, I can't remember how this begin end form stuff works. Is it like, do I have to put a using in there? VS Community Edition, which is free. Yeah, Visual Studio Community Edition is totally free. VS Code is also free and very nice. It's Haruhime. Hello, nice to see you as well, Haruhi. Thanks for joining us. JetBrains is top-notch. I agree. I like JetBrains quite a lot. They are definitely good. I'm using ReSharper, actually, in Visual Studio right here. I like ReSharper's test runner, although I'm using Visual Studio's live coding or live testing a lot. I like their test runner. I like their refactoring shortcuts and tools. I like a lot of stuff about JetBrains. I think those require curly braces. Gosh, Calvin, I cannot remember. I used to do this all the time, and it's just gone out of my mind. I've lost. What continuous integration you use? Really good question, Maverick. You might be right, Calvin. Continuous integration for this project, nothing right now. I'm thinking probably GitHub Actions or maybe Azure DevOps. We'll see how it goes. In the past, what I've used is Jenkins. I've used TeamCity, which is another JetBrains product. I've not used AppVeyor personally. I've worked on projects. I've submitted to projects that use AppVeyor. Jenkins, yes. Not a huge fan of Jenkins, but it's very, very popular. When I work with TeamCity, somehow I became the TeamCity guy. So I was reluctant. I was a reluctant TeamCity team manager. I had a podcast episode where a guest talked about Jenkins or AppVeyor, possibly both, possibly all of these things. I don't know. I had a lot of podcast episodes. Okay, AppVeyor. Yes, yeah. I think you're probably right. Oh, it was you. Gosh. Yes. Sorry, Calvin. Gosh. So many episodes. AppVeyor. There we go. Oh, it's podcast 14. Okay, that explains it. It was so long ago. Yeah, Calvin Allen talking about AppVeyor. Whole episode about it. Yeah, check that one out, everyone. Go check out the Cross-Cutting Concerns podcast. This was back in 2016. That's like over 3 years ago. My gosh, Calvin. Yeah, I do a podcast. I do this podcast. Haven't done it in a while. The one I do mostly these days is .NET Bytes, which is dotnetbytes.fm. Go check it out. That's one I do with Calvin. Every other week, we record a podcast discussing the news and all the stuff from Redmond and around the world. It has to do with .NET and C#. We are recording tomorrow. Yes, new episode recording tomorrow. And we record live on Twitch stream, on Calvin's Twitch stream, which you can go and let's just do a shout out to Calvin A. Allen with my little command there. Calvin is the greatest, and you can see his Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Calvin A. Allen. Check it out there. And tune in tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern U.S. time, and we'll record the episode live, so you'll see it before anyone else gets to listen to it on Calvin's stream. Calvin, I don't know about you. I've got a ton of notes, a ton of them. Because of the Ignite Microsoft Ignite event going on right now. So this could be another jumbo-sized episode. We'll see. Anyway, looking forward to that tomorrow. Ignite has been on fire. Get it? Ignite, fire. Does that one work? I forget. I forget what all my sound effects are. Need a crickets chirping one. Okay, so gosh, let's see. HTML form. That's why I just use form. I could just use form. Is it like something like? Oh shoot! You posted it in here, Calvin, and I scrolled past me. HTML form stuff. I don't think that's right. I think it would be a using, right? It'd have to be a using that has the braces like that, right? Oh, yeah. Hey, thanks for following Calvin's channel there. Both Maverick and Haruhi. I appreciate that. We're going to be wrapping up here pretty soon. Yeah, that looks right. Okay, good. So I could even just do like a HTML what's HTML helper. I'm looking for text box 4 m dot m dot fanfare message, and we do HTML dot label for m dot fanfare message. The label itself is going to be fanfare message, something like that. Oh, wasn't there a put your profile? The shout message. Yeah, that's something we can show. Dot. We'll double this up. Why is it giving me squiggles? Shout out. Pang SO message. BRB. Maverick, we're going to be shutting down here pretty soon, reading somebody else. So if you come back and you see someone else on the screen, that's why. And I probably want to put these in a field set, actually, because these are going to be all related. Fanfare. And we'll put a go submit. And value equals save. Yeah. Fair. No. Fanfare. So if we get half of a form or a tenth of a form working here, I call that successful. And I'll spare you all the details of creating a, oh, this needs to go away. Creating a web form, or not a web form, I guess it is a form for the web. Okay, there we go. So that's a real ugly form, but you can see it's pulling the shout-out message from the database. There is no fanfare message because I haven't set that yet. That's not part of it. But we got put all the fanfare stuff inside this field set. And I guess we probably can bring in Bootstrap or something to make this halfway decent looking. But the idea here is that, okay, maybe after you subscribe or you've been a regular or make you a mod or something, I tell you, hey, think about what you want as a fanfare. And I come to this screen and we enter the fanfare information and we can do like a test to see how it might look on the screen. And if it looks good, then I'll hit save. There we go. So that might be another thing I'll put in this field set is just be a button. We say button, right? It's not going to do anything yet. Test. Is that going to work? No, I have to actually deploy. I'm inside Docker, so I have to actually redeploy that. Yeah, so I hit this test button and then it would show the fanfare. Red squiggles on the begin form are red underline. It's a red underline, which I don't know. That's what that suggests I do. It's not red squiggles. All right, so that's it for now. This is going to be a form that basically I will be using, but it'll be on screen so you can see me add this data. It's kind of like a really simple CRUD sort of thing that we're doing here. So next time we're going to I might have this form finished by next time. No, I probably won't. So I might work on this some more on Thursday. And then, as I said, I'm going to be taking 2 weeks off of the stream because I'll be traveling for 2 events. I'll be at QCon in San Francisco, and then I'll be at KubeCon in San Diego the week after that. So here we go. Let's figure out who we want to raid. We did Lagunas already. Haven't been to Lana Lux in a while. We could go to Lana Lux. We got, never seen Zeratar. I don't think we've ever raided Zeratar. Ravenfall dev. That's interesting. Tim Baudet. Tim Bodette. I think rated him before. Lana Lux has been a while, but we have rated Lana Lux. Jay Langsdorff. Oh, there's some sort of error here. It looks like, yeah, they're probably shut down. There's me, Zeratar. So I don't know. What any suggestions? Go check out Lana Lux's game dev. That sounds like fun. We're going to raid Lana Lux. So anybody who's a subscriber, make sure to hit that bada bing, bada boom emoji when we go over there. Emote. And be nice to Lana Lux. She is a teammate. But she's doing some really cool stuff. Whenever I see her on her stream, she's doing some cool 3D modeling stuff, some game dev stuff. So definitely check that out. We're going to get that raid started here real soon. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Thank you, Faradev, for the follow. Thank you, Dreidel04 for the follow. Thank you, Renatos Ramos, for the follow. And thank you, everybody else, for all the questions and hanging out with me. Gamlor, Maverick, Haruhi, Calvin. Great seeing all of you. And we'll see you again on Thursday afternoon, Eastern U.S. time.
We'll be working on lighting. I'm also going to be working on some character animation and